You're listening to Straight Outta Stratford 203 with Zach and Julian, the best sports podcast in Connecticut. Sit back and enjoy the ride in 3, 2, 1.
Straight Outta Stratford, slinging takes like Stafford, talking all the big games, have a beer right after. When it comes to the facts and the stats we provide, better know that our names will be up in the rafters.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Straight Outta Stratford podcast, episode number 27. I am your host, Zach.
And I am Julian.
We are officially back. Happy New Year to everybody, all of our listeners and viewers out there. We hope you guys had a great end of your 2025 year, and we hope for a healthy and prosperous 2026 for all of you as well. We had quite the ending of 2025 to transition into the new year. A lot of crazy stuff going on in the sports world right now. Plus, we get to a great time of year. We have the NFL and CFP playoffs officially in place. We're about halfway through the NBA and NHL seasons, and obviously the MLB offseason is definitely starting to heat up a little bit more as we approach the upcoming season. That's what we're going to start out with a little bit today. So I know that there was a big trade that ended up taking place where Edward Cabrera got traded from the Cubs, from the Marlins
and
to
he
the
went
Cubs.
to the Cubs. Yep.
For Owen Cassie, as well as I believe it was another prospect. I could be wrong, but that was a pretty big trade. But that's not the one that we're really going to focus on. The one that we've been talking about for the past couple of months, and I know it's something that's been big, is the arrivals of new Japanese players from the NPB who are coming over to the MLB. Two of them signed their official contracts. They will be joining their future MLB teams. We saw Tatsuyama Amai signed with the Houston Astros.
On New Year's Day.
On New Year's Day, which was a very big signing for them, as well as Kazuma Okamoto signing with the Toronto Blue Jays as we start to heat up before the season starts.
As a Yankees fan, that sucks for me because Brian Cashman this offseason has been absolutely doing nothing.
Yeah, well,
you know that video of him sleeping in a sleeping bag on the side of the street? Yeah, that's what he's been doing this offseason.
Well, you could say the same thing for Steve Cohen as well, too. I mean, he's been sleeping a little bit. Both Mets and Yankees, I know that we'll get into this at one point. I do want to bring up a little bit about the players themselves, but we will get into the Mets and Yankees stuff. But they've been doing nothing.
No, but at least with the Mets, right? They may not have gotten the best in return for this offseason, but they took care of some of the in-clubhouse issues that were going on between players. And I know some of the players that were dealt weren't who you wanted to get dealt, but...
No, they were not. But like I said, we'll get into that too. I just kind of want to start out a little bit with the two Japanese guys, Amai and Okamoto. So go for it.
Another trade that happened, I believe, after we recorded the last episode was Brandon Lau got traded to the Pirates.
Well, I mean, there were a couple
moves. But that was like one of the bigger ones.
Yeah, that was one of the bigger ones. Then you also saw Jeff McNeil get traded to the Athletics, which I was a little bit surprised about. But
that's kind of what I meant about
the
players.
And then you had one big signing as well, too, as Munetaka Murakami ended up signing with the Chicago White Sox, which was very unexpected for me.
I wouldn't say that was like a big signing. I mean... Well, he was projected to get $300 million.
He was,
but I think he got like 30.
Well, no, I think he got close to like $40 million. I believe it was a 2-year, $40 million deal. Regardless, you're right. They definitely were hyping him up, saying that he was going to get multiple hundreds of millions of dollars, and ended up getting less than $100 million by a long shot. But I know he was the biggest.
Because he can't hit a fastball over 93.
Well, yeah, but before the season started, he was definitely the biggest Japanese prospect that everyone was talking about, saying, this team should go get him. I know the Yankees and Mets were both teams where you see every fan saying, I'd love to have a guy like that on our team, and I think it would have worked well. Obviously, the Chicago White Sox ended up getting him, which, again, I was very surprised by that because the White Sox haven't been contenders for quite a while. They've been on the struggling end of it. But at least in regards to Amai and Okamoto, we'll start out a little bit with Amai here. In 8 seasons, he had a 58-45 record with 907 strikeouts and a 3.15 ERA in his career in Japan. He's known for having that fastball-slider combo, which is very, very difficult to hit. He's actually also coming off of a year where he finished with a 1.92 ERA in Japan. I think that's a very, very good signing for the Houston Astros just because you've heard a lot of reports come out where people are saying he's got that competitive nature and he's got that fire in him. He even said before the season started that he didn't want to sign with the Dodgers. He wanted to sign with somebody different because he wants to be that team's number one, and now he gets that opportunity to do that. So
yeah, I mean, I wasn't really surprised that he didn't want to sign with the Dodgers because when you look at it nowadays, right, Dodgers are just a Japanese national team at this point.
Well, pretty much with Yamamoto and Roki Sasaki, Shohei Ohtani. They have a lot of guys on that team that are all from Japan, and it could have paired well putting them all together because obviously they do have that World Baseball Classic chemistry. But at the same time, he does want to be the number one.
That is starting.
That is starting very soon. I'm excited to kind of tune into that as well. Obviously, it should be very interesting to see how it plays out. I know the U.S. roster is very, very stacked this year as well, so that'll be great. But yeah, Amai was definitely a very good signing for Houston. I think that Houston definitely needed to make a move like this to put themselves more into the playoff push picture. Definitely a good move for them. I think it'll make them a little bit more competitive. Plus, like I said, fastball slider combo that he's got, he's used that to his strength big time throughout his career. It's been very effective for him. Obviously, like I said, he's coming off one of the best seasons of his career. So I think it's going to be a great signing for Houston. Now, the other one, Okamoto, that was another one. Huge signing for Toronto. They get themselves a power and contact bat. The guy is extremely talented. He played 69 games last year in Japan before he ended up getting hurt. He still had 15 home runs and batted .322 on the season. So the guy definitely has a good mix of power and contact. He also has 25 plus home runs in every season from 2018 to 2024. So the guy's got a good mix. He's won multiple gold gloves in Japan playing at third base. He could also play at first base if you need him to. And now he goes to a team that we saw last year take the Dodgers all the way to Game 7 of the World Series.
Yeah.
And plus, we've talked about their other additions that they made with like adding Dylan Cease in the offseason. Vladdy Guerrero's still there.
I forgot they added Cease.
Well, the other big one is they got to try and re-sign Bo Bichette back. That should be one of their priorities. I would take a wild guess and say that they definitely should be inclined to.
That is a big priority for them. But I saw yesterday, I think it was on The Score, their Instagram page, that Bichette's looking at a $300 million contract, and there's no way he gets that from. I don't even think any team gives him that.
Well, I don't know if any team would give him that either. I think that a lot of the agents out there right now are also trying to do the same. We saw the same thing with Cody Bellinger, who's looking for like $350+ million long-term deal, like 7-8 years. It's very different in this day and age, especially with the amount of money that some of these guys are getting paid. Obviously, they're very good players, but it's like the market is so inflated, and the amount of money that they're paying for some of these guys is absolutely atrocious. I mean, it's insane amounts of money. Now, some of them deserve it. Like we've talked about Soto, we've talked about Ohtani, we've talked about Aaron Judge with how big his contract was. I mean, there are some guys that are very well deserving because at the end of the day, it's not just about how good they are as baseball players, but it's also their image. So, a guy like Ohtani, he's going to bring in a lot of revenue. He's going to sell a lot of jerseys. People are going to come watch him play. Same thing with Juan Soto. So, that those guys are going to be deserving of big money, but it's just $300 million for a guy that was injured a majority of last year. He had some injury issues during the playoffs as well, where he missed a few games. $300 million is pretty steep. But again, like I said, that's he's a guy that I would assume Toronto would want to hang on to. He's been a crucial part of their organization for the past couple seasons. And obviously he's a very good player. Got a good bat, good fielder. So I would assume they go after him. But again, you add him with guys like Dalton Varsho, Davis Schneider, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I mean, this team is legit. They're legit. There's a reason why they took the Dodgers to 7 last year, and they've only gotten better during the offseason. So if they can get Bichette back too, would not be surprised to see them make another little run again. Whoa.
I got a Twitter notification, but I forgot.
Well, it's a good thing you checked because every single time we go on the air, something crazy.
I have it up on my laptop here, so.
Good, because I'm every time we go on the air.
Exactly.
Something
so
crazy
that's why I have it up.
But yeah, so kind of going back into the whole Mets-Yankees side of it, I know the reason why we kind of talked about those two guys was the Mets and Yankees were supposedly in on one or both of these guys. There were rumors going around saying that they wanted to meet with them or bring them in. And again, you said it. neither team has really done anything.
Yeah, and another guy that's still on the market. Actually, there's like another. I'm surprised that there's two other people that I'm surprised are still on the market, in Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, now I was hearing Kyle Tucker was talking to the Blue Jays at points. I heard he was talking to the Dodgers at points. He supposedly had a shared interest of returning to the Cubs at some point. So
I heard that
nobody knows.
I heard that Cashman talked to his agent. Pretty sure Cohen did the same thing.
Yep.
I also saw recently, I don't know if this is true or not, but Tucker could be eyeing a short, instead of a long-term contract at the moment, he could be eyeing a short-term contract, maybe 2 or 3 years with an opt-out after the second year or the first year or whatever.
Well, if that's the case, you know who should jump on that is probably the New York Mets, because they're big on offering very short contracts right now. Big reason why a lot of other guys already walked. So I'm curious to see how the Mets and Yankees offseason really plays out. Obviously, like I mentioned,
Another thing,
it's been
right?
dead.
It has been dead. The Yankees, they need another pitcher. They could definitely use another starting pitcher. I heard they were linked with Edward Cabrera.
Well, obviously that cannot happen
now Cabrera's on the Cubs, but I read that maybe a reason why the Yankees didn't pull the trigger on Cabrera is because in 2 separate times last season he had an injury with his throwing elbow.
I did not. Yeah, that's not good.
He got hurt twice, and it was an issue with his elbow. So if that was the reason why the Yankees didn't trade for him,
it was smart.
Then it was pretty smart.
Yeah, no doubt about that. You don't
because
need a guy with
they already
crazy.
traded for a injury-prone pitcher in Frankie Montas a few seasons ago.
We saw how that turned out.
Yeah, I mean, I hoped they were going to give Cease an offer, but they didn't. I hear that they're still in on Mackenzie Gore, potentially, and I've been hearing that Freddie Peralta most likely will not get moved.
Yeah, I was hearing the same thing as well. I know the Mets were supposedly in on him at points, but even when we look at it, you were just mentioning before the players, some of them that are available. There's actually quite a few on the market right now that nobody's, locked up or signed yet. You got guys like Kyle Tucker, Bo Bichette, who we just mentioned, Cody Bellinger, Alex Bregman, Framber Valdez, Ranger Suarez, Eugenio Suarez, JT Realmuto, Zach Gallen, Harrison Bader, Luis Ariz, Zach Littell, Lucas Giolito, Chris Bassett. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are still left on the market, so I'm curious to see how the rest of the offseason pans out. But so far,
you
really
brought up a name that is, I find to be very interesting, that I feel he's kind of getting erased from
Zach Allen?
No, from MLB like spotlight or history, right? It's Luis Ariz.
Yeah.
His career average, I believe, is .311.
Crazy.
He won consecutive batting titles, I think twice in the AL. And once in the NL.
He's one of the league's best contact hitters by far.
I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years ago, maybe even 4 years ago, he was like one of the best hitters in the league.
Yeah.
He had one of the best averages in the league.
Yeah.
I know he prevented Judge from winning the Triple Crown the year he hit 62 home runs. Like,
the guy's a hell of a
Luis
player.
Ariz, all of a sudden, like, he has one off year with San Diego, and nobody wants him.
I'm kind of surprised by that.
I don't get it. He's a guy that you could probably offer a low contract, right? Doesn't have to be a big 5-year deal worth $100. You can offer him a 2 or 3 year deal worth maybe $33 or $40 million. Then it's maybe considered as an overpay at the time that you give him the contract. But if he goes out there and he can go out there and he can play first base, or if you put him at, I think he's most comfortable at second base.
Yeah, he was naturally a second baseman.
I think San Diego was playing him at first.
Yeah, no, they were.
He was playing first in San Diego. And the season before that in San Diego, he was playing second and short. And he was more comfortable in the field in those two positions. So he was more comfortable at the plate.
Yeah.
I think he wasn't as comfortable at first base, so he wasn't as comfortable at the plate.
Yeah, it's very possible.
He's the lefty. He's also not the fastest person, but he's the lefty bat, and he's a contact bat.
Yeah.
Like he hits for contact. He doesn't have that many home runs in his career, but if you need him to come through, generally, if you need him to come through in a big moment, he will.
Yeah.
The same thing with Bo Bichette.
Bo Bichette did that during the World Series.
Exactly.
So
when you need Bo Bichette to come through, he can. Exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of surprised by the whole Luis Arias thing myself,
you can
too.
You can give him like 3 years, $40 million, $33 million, and it can be considered an overpay. But when he goes out and he actually plays, if you put him in the right position and he's comfortable and he doesn't feel a lot of pressure, that contract could be considered one of the best in the league.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I was hoping the Mets could do that too.
If you could get solid production from him out of the batter's box, that could be amazing. And it's not even like he's even being talked about.
No, he's not at all. A lot of people didn't even realize that he was still a free agent.
I know.
Which, again, I think that out of everybody on this list, I feel like people overlook Gallen and Arias so much. Because Gallen, a couple years ago, was one of the better pitchers in the National League. Everyone seems to forget that. He had a very, very good season. I believe it was 2023. He had a very, very good year. 2024 may not have been his best, but the guy is a very, very good pitcher. As long as you can get him to settle in, he doesn't really allow many home runs in his career, and, he's pretty good with at least a decent ERA. I mean, he couldn't be much worse than what some other teams are trotting out onto the mound at points. So,
yeah, and then you also have names like Eugenio Suarez. I mean, he's up there in age. You did see his production fall off when he got traded to Seattle.
Absolutely.
Which that could be a reason why teams aren't going after him.
Could be.
You could make an argument that he only had pop in Arizona because the elevation is higher in Arizona than it is in Seattle, which...
Then go to Colorado.
Well, yeah. Another thing is that Eugenio Suarez is also, I believe he's, at least 32.
Yeah, no, he is older, yeah.
He's on the older side. I mean, so is Bregman, but Bregman obviously still has shown that he can play at a level of excellence.
A high level, yeah, exactly.
And you have Framber Valdez, who may have not had the best year last year, but he's shown time and time again in Houston that he can be the pitcher that you need him to be if you give him the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, in 2024, even the season prior, I'm pretty sure he had a streak of 12 consecutive quality starts where he went at least 6 1/3 or 7 innings.
Yeah.
And just 2 hits or 1 hit allowed. The guy's a great pitcher, for sure. And I think that's why Houston ended up going and getting Amai, just in case they weren't able to sign back Framber Valdez, because he's been one of their number ones. And then you keep him with Hunter Brown. They have a very, very good
they have a really good pitching rotation.
So
another name, right? Ranger Suarez.
Yeah,
he was good for, I forgot who he played
Philadelphia.
For. He was great for Philadelphia. Even JT Realmuto, he's a switch. He's a righty or a lefty? I think he might be a switch hitter.
No, he's a right-handed.
He's a right-handed. He's a right-handed hitter. I get he's getting up there in age, but he was a guy that when the Marlins dealt him, I wanted the Yankees to go get.
Well, I think we've talked about that before, how good that Marlins team was back before they got rid of everybody with Starling Marte and Christian Yelich, JT Realmuto. I mean, that
Marcelo Ozuna.
Yeah, that team was crazy, and they broke
Justin
it all up.
Bohr.
Yeah. They had quite the team as well. But like
Jose
we
Fernandez.
kind of said, there's a lot of free agents left. I'm just curious to see which ones, if any, the Mets or Yankees decide to try and go get. Because at this point, I've said it multiple times. You've said it multiple times. They've done nothing.
I have seen that the Yankees have submitted offers to Bellinger, but what Bellinger wants is a 7-year deal.
Thanks to Scott Boras.
Thanks to Scott Boras. That guy is absolutely awful. Bellinger is looking. They're saying he's looking for a 7-year deal, and I just don't see him getting 7 years.
No.
I mean,
no.
I get he is 30 years old, but if you're giving him a 7-year deal, and you're expecting around $300 or $400 million over 7 years, I think that's outrageous.
Oh, no kidding.
I think if you give him a 7-year deal and give him $215 or somewhere around that range.
Well, he ain't looking for that. He wants 3 to 4. So, good luck with that.
I assume that the Yankees gave him or offered him somewhere around $185 for 4 to 5 years.
I can see the Mets probably doing the same thing, but going less years. I could see them doing 2
And you know
or 3.
what? This reminds me of when Cody Bellinger was a free agent the last time. He got traded to the Cubs. He opted out of his contract, sat in free agency until spring training, re-signed with the Cubs for 3 years, played there, was it 3 years or 2 years? I don't know.
I think it was 2 years.
I think he re-signed there for 2 years. Could have been 2 or 3 years. He played there for 1 season or 2 seasons. Then he got traded to the Yankees for absolutely nothing. But he's sitting in free agency again, waiting to get signed. And it's the same thing with Alex Bregman. Last offseason, you saw the same thing.
Yep.
He didn't sign with the Red Sox until spring training started.
Yeah, it was a very late start for a lot of them.
And Kyle Tucker is still available. He doesn't have Scott Boras as his agent, but he was supposed to be the first free agent off of the board.
Yeah. Yeah, and he still has not. So I'm curious to see which way a lot of these teams go, especially the Mets and Yankees, because, again, I know New York is growing very impatient. They want to see a big signing. These teams, this is a big market team.
The only thing that New York has going for them right now is the fact that the Knicks are doing well.
And the Islanders are actually
And the Islanders are somewhat well. And I don't know, we'll probably talk more about this later, but that if the Giants' offseason goes well, their coaching staff and team could possibly be really, really good next year.
Yeah, no doubt about that. We'll get into that once we bring up football. But
just to last thing, I'm speaking about this. If we find out that Bellinger or whoever else is available signs with other teams for a price that isn't outrageous, I'm pretty sure me and Zach are going to come on here and we are going to absolutely crash out because there is no reason why, if it is for a reasonable price, that either the Yankees or the Mets should get outbidded. I don't care what team it is. Especially if it's the Dodgers.
I was going to say unless it's the Dodgers because they'll probably
especially if it's the Dodgers.
Well, I'd be more mad if they went to the Dodgers, but I would not be surprised if it's the Dodgers. That's my point.
The only reason I don't see Bellinger going back to the Dodgers is because they didn't want him.
Well, no, I wasn't going to say so much him. I was going to say more like Kyle Tucker or anybody else. But regardless, we are just starting to get fed up with it. I know other Yankee and Met fans are also
the
starting
Yankees
to get
and the
fed up
Mets
with it too.
have the money. Spend it.
Yeah.
I don't give two craps about. I don't care about the salary cap.
There is no salary cap.
Or no, the luxury tax or whatever.
Well, I don't care. They act like they're not multi-billionaires and stuff like that. They got the money for it. Just put a little bit out.
If George Steinbrenner was alive right now, Bellinger probably would have been. So he probably wouldn't have even been on the team.
Bellinger and Kyle Tucker probably would have
been signed
back with the Yankees.
Exactly.
By now. And they probably would have signed one of the Japanese guys as well.
Yeah, probably. Also, if nothing gets done, do you get rid of Cashman, or is Cashman only still at his job, have his job secured because he has some sort of blackmail on the Steinbrenner family? What has there's been several off seasons where Cashman has done nothing and let players go to different teams and didn't even offer him a contract. I'm bringing this up again. Harper, Judge and Bryce Harper both went to the Super Bowl that year, and Judge told Harper, if you come to New York, I'll move to center field. Harper said he was never offered a contract.
Yeah. Well, again, we get it. It's
New frustrating.
It is. It's very frustrating, and the New York ownership just does not care. They're all about making their money, like Cashman and Cohen and all these other guys. So all we ask is just
spend it.
Please spend something. Just go out and get somebody. This is insane now.
And don't spend it on players that aren't worth the money.
No, exactly. Well, speaking of New York frustration as well, I'll kind of transition a little bit into the NHL. I'll try and make this quick too. Just because obviously we're getting towards the halfway point of the year. Usually when you get to the halfway point of the NHL season, you get to the trade deadline. And obviously teams are starting to understand whether they should be buyers or whether they should be sellers or whether they should stand pat and keep their team the way it is. The one team, obviously, which I'll bring up is the New York Rangers. Their struggles, they have been horrible over the past couple of weeks. The team is definitely in a rut on top of the fact that now over the past week, we saw Adam Fox and Igor Shesterkin both sustain injuries in Monday night's game against Utah. Adam Fox is going to be on the long-term injured reserve, which means he's out for a minimum of 24 days and 10 games.
Wow.
Igor Shesterkin is also on the IR. He had a non-contact injury, had to be helped off the ice. That is not a good thing for the New York Rangers. Obviously, I shouldn't have to say much on that.
Non-contact is usually ACL or Achilles.
Well,
right?
luckily they said that it was not severe to where he would risk missing the rest of the season. However, he is going to miss some time. They're not sure what his timetable is to return. Should not be the rest of the season, but still losing your two best players, in my opinion, or two of your three best players, because Artemi Panarin is still alive and well. Losing those guys is definitely a big hit to the team, but it's made it more clear that
the Rangers should be sellers.
The Rangers should sell every piece that they possibly can, even if it means trading a guy, like I said his name 2 seconds ago, Artemi Panarin. I know he's a fan favorite. I know that he just hit 600 career assists last night in their game. Again, congratulations to him for that. But it's getting to the point where you got a lot of guys on this team that are over the age of 30 that they want to go to contending teams. They're on the New York Rangers right now, thinking that this team would have been a contender as of a couple seasons ago.
Yeah,
Clearly
I
it's
was
not
just
going
about
that
to
way.
say, 2 seasons ago, you were in the Eastern Conference Finals, right?
Yeah, don't remind me.
And
I know.
I believe they had a lead, and they blew it.
Yeah, they did.
And-
yeah,
And they come out last season, and they play like absolute
garbage.
garbage.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, this season is worse than last season by far.
Well, I was getting to that.
Yeah.
Then this season, you're like, all right, maybe last season was a fluke. Maybe it's a bounce back season. No, it's worse.
No, it's worse. But it gets me to the point again where I say, sell everything. Trade Panarin for as many assets and prospects as you can get. A guy like Vincent Trocheck, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up moving off of him. I love the energy he brings. I love the physicality. It's just
only guy that can't move off of is Mika Zibanejad.
well,
right?
yes, and that's because he has a no movement. But Artemi Panarin also does as well too.
Well, they could waive it.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that he could potentially waive it if he wanted to. Obviously, he doesn't want to. Now that his, I don't say this in a mean way, now that his boyfriend, Chris Kreider, is no longer in New York, I wouldn't be surprised if it makes him more inclined to remove it. If that's the case, get rid of all of them. I don't say it in a mean way because I loved what they did for the organization and they were good players, but over the age of 30,
now
$8.5 million a year, it's like, no, dude.
Only thing I'm gonna say, right, is if they do wind up moving off of Panarin and Trocheck, right, they're going to go play, like, phenomenal for another team, right?
Oh, well, no, of course. But the thing is, at this point, as a Rangers fan, it's come to be expected. I know that the minute that we let somebody go, they're going to end up turning into a budding superstar or they're going to revitalize their career. It's just something that you need to embrace, and it's something that I've said on multiple episodes of this podcast.
That's generally how it is with some players in not just the Rangers organization, but in New York sports as a whole.
Absolutely. Like Saquon Barkley, perfect example. Daniel Jones, perfect example.
Well, Saquon Barkley,
well, I mean, he was already good.
He was good, but what he did last season was phenomenal.
That's my point.
And Daniel Jones this season, like, you put him on a team, I think him going to the Colts might have been the best move he could have done for his career. Because I think if he went to any other team in the NFL besides the Colts, he wouldn't have had the year that he had.
Maybe the 49ers, but we already know what their situation is. I know what you mean. With a quarterback vacancy.
You put him in on a team that had Anthony Richardson, who was expected to start over him, which he beat him out for the starting spot. And then you also not only give him the upper hand on Anthony Richardson, you give him the best offensive line in the entire NFL. Arguably one of the best offensive lines in the entire NFL to play behind. And you're giving him time in the pocket, and you're looking at him, and you're like, wait a second. When he actually sits in the pocket and makes reads and checks down routes, he's actually playing like a number 6 overall pick.
Yeah, no question.
And then when you see the pocket collapse, you're like, oh, I forgot he could run around like that.
Yep.
As where with the Giants, they didn't give him an offensive line, and he just had to rely on his legs too much, and that ultimately led him to
just not being successful, getting hurt. Yeah, no, you're right. But at least going back into the hockey side of it, again, I expect.
Well, I was gonna, like, not only with those two, but like even in like basketball and baseball, right? There are some players that are superstars that come to New York. Example, Joey Gallo. He was phenomenal with the Rangers. Couldn't handle the pressure of New York. Absolutely stunk on the Yankees. Was there for a season and a half. Terrible. Moved to the Dodgers. He batted like 260 for the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, it's
another player, Josh Donaldson.
Yeah, it's expected at this point of a lot
and
of
then
New
you
York
have
sports.
Players that get traded to New York that revive their careers.
Yeah,
an example of, in basketball terms, you have Jalen Brunson, who his career.
Well, he
didn't revive his career, but he kind of like
he kickstarted his career.
He kickstarted.
For sure.
He emerged as a star.
Yeah.
Josh Hart.
Yeah.
OG Anunoby.
Mikal Bridges,
Michael Porter Jr. on the Nets.
Yeah, no, for like I said, no doubt. But it's expected of New York sports to see that happen. But it's just getting to the point where I don't care if they go to another team and become the best player in the NHL. I don't care. At this point, going back to what I was trying to transition to, exactly what I've said on this podcast multiple times when we bring up the NHL. The earlier that these organizations embrace the youth movement and focus on building a young core of talent that they can have for a longer amount of time, those are the teams that benefit the most. All of the teams that have done really well in the past, in these past maybe I'd say 6-7 years, all committed to the youth movement. Florida did it, Tampa Bay did it, Colorado did it, and guess what they all have in common? They all have Stanley Cup championships for it. That's what I want the Rangers to do. Now, granted, I know a lot of Rangers fans will agree with me on this. Their development has been garbage. You look at what they've done with guys like Alexis Lafreniere and Capo Caco, Vitaly Kravtsov. I mean, they've drafted some guys that were top picks in the draft, and they ended up coming out and being busts. And it's to the point where if you look at the guys that were drafted before, or, well, I wouldn't say so much before, but after them, those guys are turning into budding superstars. And it's like, I don't know if it's maybe just the developmental. I don't know if it's
maybe
just unluckiness. I don't know. But
like I said, it's playing for New York in general is it comes with a built-in pressure. Like, it's one of the biggest markets in all of sports. Like, New York and LA are the two biggest markets.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Because if you're coming up in an organization and you're being positioned, say, like, I don't know all the positions of hockey, but like, say you're at a wing, right? And you're like, oh, this is the next guy. Like, I expect them to live up to so-and-so's expectation, kind of like what every Yankee fan thought Volpe was going to be. Oh, he's going to be the next Jeter. No, he is not the next Jeter.
Yeah.
There's pressure built on players to succeed in New York because it's a big market.
That's true, but you're telling me that it's every single draft pick they have. It's every one. And obviously the Islanders haven't had that problem because look at their number one pick from this year.
I know, but what I'm saying is it's not just every pick, but it's also the player's mentality. If the player thinks that they can go in New York and succeed as a professional athlete, they're going to thrive. But if they think that they can't handle the pressure, because if they stink, they're going to get booed.
No kidding.
Like, I'm going to give props to, which I don't know how he did it. Giancarlo Stanton a few years ago.
Oh, was getting booed out the building.
He was getting booed up the wazoo. He was getting booed. He handled it very, very well.
Yeah, he did.
And then come time for the playoffs, he turned into Barry Bonds.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he did. You're 100% right. It's just the part that frustrates me the most about the whole Rangers situation is you see all of these other teams that are also big market teams, maybe not as big as New York, but big market teams or like well-known franchises. They have no issue drafting and developing players. It only seems that the one team that cannot do it is the Rangers. And it's getting to the point where, like I said, sell everybody, get rid of all the old guys, and commit and get yourself whether it means a coach. I don't know. Obviously, I've said Drury's a big problem.
Well, here's the thing I'm going to say, right? Not even I don't really care if they go and they commit to the reset. They should do what practically the Giants did: go full reset, fire the coach, the scouting, the development, fire.
Yeah, but do you know what the problem is, though? This is what I know as a Rangers fan, okay? They have already tried to do that multiple times. Maybe not so much the reset, but the whole coach. This is a new coach.
No, I know.
They just got this. The way that it changes is kind of on the road that you're just going down right now.
Clean house.
Kind of in clean house. I wouldn't even say the coach.
Sell the team.
No. The GM. Chris Drury. I've said it multiple times. This guy is part of he inherited a Rangers team that was filled with talent and that was an immediate contender and turned them into an absolute pile of dog crap. The team sucks. The team stinks. Okay? They have, I'd say, probably about maybe 4 good players in this organization. 4. Gabe Perreault, who's a prospect, he finally just got called up. I like the kid a lot. Shesterkin, Fox, and Panarin. The rest of the team is mid. It's mid. And this is a team that, like we just said, 2023, you had the number 1 team in the NHL during the regular season. You went to the Eastern Conference Finals.
And they were obviously, going into the playoff Stanley Cup hunt, they were obviously the favored team to make the finals.
Yes,
out of
they
the
were.
East.
And guess what? And now they have most of those players gone. The team stinks. They have no prospects. They have hardly any cap space. And you're paying multiple 30, 31, or 32-year-olds or older $8.5 million per year. That is a problem. And it's because of him. And he extends the wrong guys. So at this point, here's a list of names that I wrote down of guys that they should potentially move or could potentially move. You have Panarin, Trocheck, Carson Soucy, Braden Schneider, Sam Carrick, Taylor Radish, Brennan Ottman, Juuso Parssinen, and Urho Vakanainen. You have multiple guys on this team that you should potentially get rid of. This team is sitting at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. They have hardly any prospects, and they have a chance this year, if they keep playing the way that they are, to have a chance at getting the number 1 overall pick in the draft lottery next year. And I'd love to have a guy like Gavin McKenna on this team. I really would. So I just hope that the Rangers commit to the youth movement. It's something they've needed to do. If that means that executing Chris Drury is the move, do it. Cut his head off. Send him packing. Do something. It's bad. I don't literally mean cut his head off, but just get rid of him. It's horrible. And he has no idea how to run a team. He was a good player in the NHL. Good players don't necessarily mean good GMs. He's not a good GM. He sucks. So we'll move off that. Now we kind of get into the NBA. Well, just bring up one last thing, and then we'll go into the one big NBA thing we'll talk about.
I don't really watch the NHL, but I tend to doom scroll or on Instagram at nighttime, and I don't know the player's name, but I saw somebody got absolutely knocked out the other night.
Yeah, Ryan Reeves got blasted by I believe his name is Matthias Olivier. I know his last name's Olivier. He's a monster.
Yeah, I know, because I was talking about it with my friends the other night, and my friend Andrew said that Reeves usually never loses a fight, and he got knocked out.
Yeah, no. I got to see who it was. Matthew Olivier. I knew it. It was like a very weird spelling of Matthew. Matthew Olivier. Yeah, that was a heavyweight battle. And I saw a video of this before, and I'm glad somebody else said it. I hope that these people see it. I doubt that they will. It's from Spitting Chicklets, but it was another group. Anyone who says fighting is bad for hockey has no idea what they're talking about. That fight was energetic. It lit both teams up. That is exactly why the fighting takes place in hockey, is to get that momentum kicking again. There's nothing better than watching two of your big boys swinging on the ice and throwing at each other to try and defend your teammates and get the boys a little bit riled up. Especially as a former hockey player, I know that myself. I wasn't really much of a fighter because I'm a pretty small guy, but watching your teammates go to war for you like that, that's what sparks the boys up and gets the blood flowing a little bit. So yeah, that was a great fight last night. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Before we go into the NBA, you mentioned a complete knockout, and I'm just bringing this up. It has nothing to do with sports. It just has something to do, well, I mean, kind of, but I just want to bring awareness and give condolences to Anthony Joshua.
Yep.
Who survived, miraculously survived a very fatal, car crash. It was
where he lost two of his friends.
He lost two of his close friends that were both part of his team. I believe he retired. I think he's never boxing again because they were both on his staff, and thankfully he survived, and hopefully he's recovering well, but giving my condolences to him because
as do I.
Losing somebody, especially somebody close, is never easy.
No, it is not easy too. So I can understand that, and condolences to Anthony Joshua as a great fighter as well too. Now we'll kind of go into the NBA.
It was also really nice to see him absolutely sleep Jake Paul.
Yeah. Well, that was a mismatch anyway. It's stupid that you got a cruiserweight fighting against a heavyweight. I mean, that was just dumb. But we'll kind of just go into one little quick NBA news sharing. So obviously we're closer to the trade deadline. That is the one thing we're going to talk about was the Trae Young trade. Trae Young from the Atlanta Hawks was officially traded the other night from Atlanta to the Washington Wizards in exchange for C.J. McCollum as well as Corey Kispert. This trade was kind of shocking, to be honest with you.
I mean, when I saw that he wanted out of Atlanta, I wasn't surprised.
Oh, me either.
When I saw that one of the teams that showed interest or were thinking about calling was the Knicks, I was not even happy.
No.
Don't even want him. But what I'm gonna say right now is, first of all, I do believe Trae Young wanted to go to Washington. Which
he did.
I believe that is the first time I've ever heard somebody say that, which is kind of weird. And number two, this might be a worse trade than the Luka trade.
No. Okay.
No. Well, no. Here's why I'm going to say that. Overall wise, no. The Luka trade was way worse.
Yes.
But return wise, this trade might be. You have Trae Young, who has been an all-star before, who has shown that he can deliver at any time he needs to. He's shown he can perform in the playoffs. He helped the Hawks knock the Knicks out of the playoffs a few years ago, and he's a cocky little.
Oh yeah, okay, easy. I know what you're saying.
He's a cocky little guy, rolling dice on mid-court at Madison Square Garden, but. You trade him to the Wizards, and you don't even get a first-round pick. Not even a first-round pick. A second-round pick.
Hold on. And the reason why this is, I get what you're saying, and you're right. I was kind of baffled by that because that's what I have written in my notes here too. You got a guy that he's a 4-time All-Star. He averages 25 points a game throughout his career. They didn't receive a draft pick in return, which was absolutely blasphemous.
He's not a bum.
But the thing is, it's a win in a way that you may not see. Now, although they did not get a draft pick, they clear up a ton of potential cap space. So the big thing is now they give themselves more financial flexibility. You have a $25 million cap space saving, which removes his $49 million player option. That allows them to try and build and sign guys in the future. I was hearing it's possible that they may go after Anthony Davis. Now, granted, we've talked about him before, saying he's not the same Anthony Davis as he once was earlier in his career.
He's not healthy. He's not consistent.
Well, no, he's consistent.
Well, he's consistent, but he just can't stay
not
healthy.
on the court. Exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they open up a lot of extra cap space, which means that now, maybe not so much this year, but maybe at the end of this year, depending on who they get at the deadline, or next year, they give themselves a lot more money.
Who do they have on the roster still?
Kristaps Porzingis.
They got rid of DeJounte Murray, right?
Yeah, they have like nobody left. But my point is now you get rid of the most expensive player on your team. Your team stinks. They're probably going to end up getting themselves a draft pick higher up. So they'll get themselves a good player, and then they give themselves the financial flexibility to go out and sign another top free agent. I think that although the trade itself, if you look at everything in one dimension, it's easy to say that the Wizards pulled away easily in the trade. They won. They got a young all-star. The guy's a great player. And they put him with Alex Sarr now.
And in a way, right, if you're a Hawks fan and you're looking at this, you traded away, not even arguably, the best player that your franchise has had within the last maybe 20-ish years, 10 or 15, maybe not 20, but like 10 to 15 years away for a bag of chips.
Yeah.
A half-empty bag of chips. Like when you go to like a vending machine and you pay like $3 for a bag of chips that maybe has a quarter of the bag full, that's what you traded away Trae Young for.
Again, but like I said, if you look at it through one dimension, then yes, you're 100% right. But now,
no, but what I'm saying
line,
is that CJ McCollum's contract isn't cheap either.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it expires at the end of this year.
It probably
does. So
does.
There's a good chance that they are going to have a lot of money next year to go out and invest in some free agents, which I think, like I said, short-term wise, very bad trade. Long-term wise, could be very beneficial.
Yeah, but I understand why you're saying long-term wise it could be very beneficial, right? I get they have, I believe Porzingis is also expiring after this year too.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So he's off the books, I believe. And if you're Atlanta, right, and you're like, okay, we have Porzingis expiring, we have Trae Young locked up for a while. The only reason why players would want to go to Atlanta, I don't follow the Hawks, so if you're a Hawks fan and I get flamed for this, I don't follow them. The only reason I could see a player wanting to go to Atlanta is to be paired with Trae Young. Because,
not anymore.
Well, yeah. Let me finish.
I know what you're saying. Yeah,
they would want to play with Trae Young because Trae Young obviously is. I wouldn't say he's a superstar, but he's not. He's a star player in the NBA. He's a well-known player. He's a well-respected player by other players around the league. He's not a scrub. But they basically gave him up for nothing. Now, before we transfer into college football. Last night, in Minnesota's win against, I don't know who they played, but I saw it when I was watching the Miami Ole Miss game. Anthony Edwards is the third youngest player to reach 10,000 points.
Only behind KD and LeBron.
No,
Yeah.
James Harden.
No, I'm pretty sure it was KD and LeBron.
No, it's James Harden, I believe. It's Kevin Durant and James Harden.
I'm almost positive.
I could have sworn I saw James Harden. I was also sitting really far away from the
I was correct. The youngest NBA players to reach 10,000 career points are LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and now Anthony Edwards.
Well, I was wrong. I own up to my...
I'm telling you, I saw it the other night too, which, again, congratulations to Anthony Edwards. He's a hell of a player too. So.
And a lot of people are saying, oh, this is a down year for Ant. Like, he's not the same guy that he was.
He's still a star.
But he's going to be Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, he's still a star. For sure. So now we'll mention it. We'll go into the CFP playoff. Obviously, we are a little bit further past the semifinals as we did watch one game last night. The other one will be tonight.
Now,
Miami.
Yeah, well.
Shocking the world.
Exactly. Well, at least shocking him.
Well.
Because earlier on in the season, I kind of did say that I could see Miami making a run in the playoffs, but I kind of flipped that statement once I saw they got their second loss because I know that once a team gets a second loss, it's kind of very rare that they do make the playoffs at all. But the fact that they beat Texas Tech, Ohio State, and they just beat Ole Miss, I mean,
Yeah, I'm eating a little bit of crow for sure because I said
Miami
Carson Beck
wasn't
was
gonna-
overrated, that Miami was overrated, and they really weren't that good. To be honest with you, I'm still going to get flack. I stand by it. I'm sorry.
I have my Miami Hurricane shirt on.
Yeah, put that away.
Nope. Shut up.
It's you know what? Again, I will bite the bullet for it, okay? I did say I thought Carson Beck was overrated. I did say I thought Miami was overrated. I did also come out, though, when the playoffs started and said that I thought that Miami still deserved to make the playoffs. I said the bracket wasn't perfect. It was never going to be perfect, but a team like Miami, I mean, they're still a good team.
You also said Bama would be a sneaky sleeper to make a run.
Well, yeah, they ended up, they beat Oklahoma, and everybody was very, surprised by that, and then Indiana absolutely curb stomped them. Yeah, no, that was painful to watch too. Let's not bring that up. But anyway, Miami has definitely impressed me for sure. I thought that they looked a lot better than what I expected out of them. I said it before.
What I will say is they're not playing at all next week. They have the entire week off, which is good because you saw several players on the defense get banged up last night, and it gives them time to rest. Number one. Number two, it gives them time to game plan. Mm-hmm. And they're going to find out who they're playing after tonight. It's either going to be Oregon or it's going to be Indiana.
Your guess is going to be
you're rooting for Oregon?
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to root for the team that just beat my team like a.
Well, no, I'm not saying root for them, but I'm speaking about like realistically, it's probably going to be Indiana.
This is the way I was going to say it is. I hope it's Oregon, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Indiana.
Now, well, we'll speak about Mendoza in a little bit because I want to just speak quickly about him. But Miami has Hard Rock Stadium isn't an easy atmosphere to play in. You're in Miami, it's warm weather, right? But the energy in that stadium is just different when you're in a atmosphere like that.
Well, it's also going to be a home game for Miami in the national championship.
That's what I was about to say. It's going to be a home game for Miami. They're used to playing with the noise, the crowd, the atmosphere, especially since it's going to be a home game. I'm pretty sure it's going to be flooded with Miami students.
Yep.
Because
I can't believe it.
Because I know last night there were a lot of Miami students in where they play, Vegas or
somewhere,
Arizona. It was one of those two, but it's going to be a lot of green and orange in the stands.
Yes, there will be.
I'm pretty sure right now they're sending emails out to all the students. Wouldn't be surprised if they limit the amount of ticket sales sold to whoever wins tonight, like kind of what the NBA teams do for the playoffs. I mean, at the start of the season, I'm not going to say I sat here and thought Miami was going to go to the Natty, but now I am going to say I think they are going to win it. It wouldn't surprise me because they upset the 4 seed, the 2 seed, and the 6 seed.
Yeah, no, I could see it, but again, I think that here's another way to say it. I think that if Oregon wins, Miami could probably win the whole thing. I think if Indiana wins, Indiana's going to win the whole thing.
Now,
that team is impressive to watch.
I'm not saying Indiana's not good, but
you can't argue it now.
I can't argue, but what you saw late in the fourth quarter on the last drive where Carson Beck ran the touchdown in was when Malachi Toney wasn't open. You saw other receivers in one-on-one coverage, and Carson Beck was finding them. I don't know players by name, but number 0, he had over 100 receiving yards because you can't leave Malachi Toney open.
No.
Can't leave him open, can't keep him in one-on-one coverage late in a game that's close. I think if Miami does play Indiana, I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout. It's going to be a close game.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't think it would be a blowout either.
But it all depends on late in the game if you can cover Malachi Toney. And if you can't, then he's either A, going to catch the ball and get a boatload of yards after on the run after the catch,
mm-hmm.
or he's going to draw all the attention and Carson Beck's going to find somebody else wide open.
Yeah, Carson Beck played extremely well last night, too. And I
speaking of Malachi Toney, He made an insane catch. I mean, it was ruled incomplete, but he went up at least probably about like 8 feet in the air and caught the ball with one hand on the sideline.
Well, speaking of, the other thing that I will mention too is I know that there's a big controversy going on right now anyway about that game, and that is the missed pass interference call to end the game for Ole Miss last night. That was blatant pass interference. Now, granted, it doesn't mean that Ole Miss would have thrown a touchdown on the next play because this is not the NFL where
it's not.
It doesn't move to the spot of the foul.
It's only a 15-yard penalty, number one. Number two, it is a Hail Mary play. So I was kind of explaining this to my dad last night because he didn't understand it. If it was a regular play that was not a Hail Mary, then that definitely would have been called pass interference.
It should have been called anyway.
Well, this is what I'm going to say. But since it was a Hail Mary, right, it was obvious the ball was being thrown down the field. But you looked at the receiver and the DB
Easy.
From the second the play started. They were both hand fighting.
Oh, yeah.
If it was just the cornerback that was hand grabbing and pushing the receiver the entire way down the field, then it's a different story.
Yeah, you're right.
But you can argue that since the receiver also had his arm on the shoulder pads, the middle of the chest and the shoulder pads of the DB, until he got to the back of the end zone, you could argue that the receiver kind of pushed him off
yeah, but
I mean, there was a lot of hand fighting on that play. It should have been a flag, but
it wouldn't have made a difference.
It wouldn't have made a difference
anyway.
It would have gave them an extra 15 yards, and I believe they were at the 43-yard line. They would have been at the 25.
Yeah, so it still would have been an easier play, but no one knows if they would have ended up getting it. It sucks that we didn't get to see it, but again, it was kind of unfortunate. But at least now we can go into the Indiana-Oregon matchup. Like I said, the biggest thing for me that I'm looking forward to about it is the fact that you have two of the best college quarterback prospects going head-to-head with Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza.
Okay, yes. So I was about to say this. This could potentially be the battle for the number one pick.
I agree with that.
Now, I saw reports saying that if Arch Manning declares for the draft, the Raiders would rather take him over Mendoza if Dante Moore doesn't declare for the draft. Because I'm not 100% sold on Fernando Mendoza being
Arch Manning already said he was going back to college. He wasn't going to go to the draft.
I didn't see that. I saw
his uncle or somebody said that. I think it was his grandfather was like, absolutely not. He's not. Well,
yeah, but then he came out and said, I don't know what he was talking about. I have to weigh all my options.
To be honest, he's not ready for the NFL yet either.
No, I'm not saying he's ready, but I'm just saying overall as a prospect, like his upside, I think Arch Manning has a bigger upside to succeed in the NFL than Fernando Mendoza does.
Well, not right now he does.
Well, no, not right, but I'm just saying, generally.
I know. But
not right now.
No.
But Fernando Mendoza, right, when you look at the teams he played over the entire season, they haven't been the best. And then
you're telling me I've been saying that to everybody who was telling me, and they proved me wrong.
Exactly.
But
he did prove you wrong. But if you look at the opponents that Arch played compared to Mendoza, you could say if Arch decides to go to the draft, I wouldn't bash the Raiders for taking him with the first overall
but you know
pick.
what? Mendoza also beat Ohio State and played much better than Ohio State than Arch Manning did. Now, granted, it was Arch Manning's first game. But, again, I see what you're saying.
And
it's the upside.
Not only was it the first game, it was the first game of the season, his first start as QB1. And it was, and not only to mention, it was in Ohio State. After they did the ceremony, they hung the banner. So all the Ohio State players were playing with a little extra motivation.
Which is why I said that game was going to be difficult for him in the first place.
Exactly.
People told me I was crazy. But
exactly.
Anyway, again, with the whole thing, I understand, yes, with Arch Manning's upside of his potential down the line.
But back to what we were saying.
I personally think that Moore is already better than Mendoza anyway.
I do agree. I think that Mendoza's stats won't carry over into the NFL.
No, I agree.
Because obviously there is a obviously there's a skill gap when it comes to players playing in the NFL than there is in college.
Yep, no doubt.
I'm going to say I think Chambliss is probably better than Mendoza.
I was going to say, I think
Trinidad Chambliss.
out of
exactly.
all three of those guys, I think that it goes Chambliss, Moore, Mendoza, but that's just
me. And then
me.
Carson Beck at the bottom.
Well, yeah, we won't even talk about that. He deserves a little bit of respect after what he did last night, too. Even though he didn't play his best football, he did play good enough.
He had 270 passing. 270 passing yards.
He also fumbled once and threw one pick as well, too, and he had a quarterback rating of a 73.8.
That's another thing I'm going to speak about is that game shouldn't have been as close as it was. Miami's defense dropped 3 interceptions.
Yeah. Well, Miami's defense is nasty. That's the biggest reason why they've been as good as they were.
I'm not bashing their defense, but I'm saying, like, there were 3 times that game where they had their hands and gloves fully on the ball.
And they just dropped it.
And they just didn't hold on to the ball.
Yeah, I know. So,
and that shouldn't happen.
I don't think it should happen either. But, again, we'll kind of wrap this up here. It's going to be a really good game tonight. I personally think that, again, I want Oregon to win.
Exactly.
I think Indiana wins.
I think that if Oregon does win, it does raise some sort of speculation in the Raiders organization whether or not they want to pursue taking Mendoza with the first pick. Also, I did see reports come out. I don't know if this is true or not, but since the Giants did win out on their last 2 games of the season, I did see reports saying that regardless of what happens tonight, Dante Moore's agents are going to call the Raiders and say, is there any chance you think about taking Dante Moore at number 1 over Mendoza? Because if not, they're going to tell Dante Moore not to go to the draft because they don't want him to play for the Jets.
Yeah. No, I was hearing the same thing.
And I wouldn't want to play for the Jets either.
I was having a talk with somebody about that the other day as well, too. I'm curious to see
the
how
only
that whole
thing
thing
I could say that about that situation that could be an issue is that let's say that does happen and Dante Moore does go back and then he gets hurt next season and he could get screwed. He could ruin his shot at the NFL.
You're right. But I'm curious to see how the whole thing pans out because, again, tonight's going to be the real tell of what ends up happening. Because if Mendoza has a bad game and Moore plays better than he does, who knows? Maybe there's a good chance that Moore goes first. But we shall see what happens tonight.
Speaking of, this is just a quick thing. I don't know if the issue with Miami, this obviously isn't true. Because I think Cam Ward is better than Carson Beck.
Oh, yeah.
But people are going to start to bring up the point was the issue with Miami last year Cam Ward or was it other reasons?
It was other reasons. The defense was nowhere near what it was this year. Their defense is ranked in like the top 10 for every category.
They also the receivers last year weren't as, like, I'm not taking away from what Xavier Restrepo did, but like they didn't have Malachi Toney.
Yeah, well, again, like I said, they are, I think, a better constructed
Malachi
team.
Toney is a freshman in college. He is 17 years old. He should be a senior in high school. He reclassed.
Well, it's kind of like Ryan Williams.
But Ryan Williams fell off.
Who's to say that he won't?
Ryan Williams had 3 good games at the start of his freshman year.
Yeah, but you know what? That's also because Bama didn't have an O-line or a run game either, and it was literally just prayers to Ty Simpson the entire time, which he ended up declaring for the draft as well. Yeah. I don't blame him. That was the worst Bama O-line that I'd seen in several years.
But what we've seen out of Malachi Toney is been phenomenal.
Oh, it's been remarkable to say the least, for sure. Now we'll kind of go into the NFL just because we have a couple things that we're going to do. We'll touch a little bit on the whole head coaching scenarios and carousel that's going on right now, as well as make our playoff prediction picks for our bracket, which we'll try and do that fairly quick because I don't want to, keep this going too crazy long for no reason. So at least we saw there are 8 vacancies right now with head coaches. We saw Mike McDaniel get fired Wednesday, which should have been a long time ago.
Exactly, it should have been a long time ago. They got rid of their GM in the middle of the season, and they kept Mike McDaniel?
Yeah.
Like, me and Zach have been saying, I believe since week
5?
Week 5 that he should be gone.
Yeah.
And it's not even like okay, yeah, the Dolphins like stunk the rest of the. There was a point in time where the Dolphins won like 4 consecutive games and were like in the playoff race, right? And that was after the fact that they fired their OC, DC,
and Tyreek Hill got
and
hurt.
after Tyreek Hill got hurt, and after the GM was fired, right? You're doing all this after everybody has been let go from the organization just for what? I don't know if Mike McDaniels knew that he was out after the season, and he was like, I'm just going to do this to screw up the future for the Dolphins, which if he did, that's kind of petty.
Well, no, to be honest with you, you know what I think it is? And somebody, again, brought this up with me the other night, and I was kind of surprised that they made this point. John Harbaugh gets fired the day before. Miami sees that and goes, you know what? Let's fire Mike McDaniel. Maybe we can get Harbaugh as our next head coach. That I would not be surprised. Warm weather. He has a good track record as a head coach.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised by the Ravens moving off of him, which we're going to get to. But still, he's won his division 12 times in 18 seasons. He's a Super Bowl champion head coach. He won Coach of the Year twice. I mean, it's a shocker. Shocker to me.
Well, I mean, I guess that could be seen as a reason to fire Mike McDaniels, but I mean, if you're sitting here thinking that is the only reason why Mike McDaniels got fired, then you're crazy.
No, but that's not what. But he's saying because everything the way that it went, the fact that they had a horrible year, he was already on the hot seat pretty much during this season. They didn't make the playoffs, and then the Ravens get rid of a fantastic coach. I mean, I know a lot of Ravens fans, surprisingly, and they were all thrilled just because they want that change of scenery. They want the fresh start. I still think it's not the smartest move to let him go because obviously we saw it. 7 teams inquired about him becoming their head coach after he got fired.
Now, I think it was Jeff Passan came out yesterday and said that there are also some teams that are contemplating firing their current head coach and going after John Harbaugh. And he said that it would be crazy for teams to do that, but he said he's called several teams and he said he's heard that some organizations there's speculation that, hey, we can do this.
I could already tell you one team, the Cincinnati Bengals.
I'm pretty sure
Zach Taylor's been in hot water for 2 seasons now or more.
The Jets.
No, listen, another thing. I said this before too. I understand the whole idea of the one and done because obviously another coach just happened to as well was Pete Carroll with the one and done. You saw it happen to Gerard Mayo with New England. I don't necessarily see that being the right move. Now, granted, they may see that it's the best move for them. If that's the way they want to go, sure. I don't think it's the right move. I think you got to give the guy a little bit more than 1 season. That being said, if there's any team that I could see firing their head coach after 1 year and their team being as bad as they are, it's the New York Jets. They didn't have a single interception the entire season.
I believe they had several stats this season that were like record-setting in a bad way. I think they had the largest, was it yardage differential or points differential in the entire league?
Yep. Something like that. They also did not have a single interception. But then on the good note, they were the only team in not franchise history,
NFL.
I think, and maybe in NFL history, that started the same 5 O-linemen in every single game in the 17-game season. That's wild.
That is wild. And you know what? You know what's even crazier than that stat? Take a guess at who their leading receiver was.
I'm assuming it had to have been. Was it Garrett Wilson?
Yes.
Yeah, and he missed.
He had 380-something yards. He didn't suit up for a game since week 5 or 6. He missed more than 10 games out of the season, and he is still your leading receiver at the end of the year. If that doesn't raise a red flag, or if that doesn't seem like it's an issue to the owner, to the GM, to fire the OC, to do whatever. Who owns Woody Johnson, right?
Oh,
When I'm bringing this up again. Had the opportunity to trade for Jerry Jeudy, and you know what he told everybody? I don't want him because his overall in Madden isn't high enough.
Yeah, because his grandkids played Madden and said they said that his rating is fairly low.
They said he was like an 81 or an 83 overall. Not wanting Jerry Jeudy because his overall in Madden isn't high enough, that is stupid.
That would be like not wanting Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's last year before this year was like a 78 overall. Like, that's
and
just...
Matt Stafford is having a career year after missing the entire preseason due to back issues or something.
They thought that he would never even play.
They thought that he wasn't going to play.
MVP.
There was speculation that Matt Stafford might never play football ever again.
MVP.
And now he's in MVP conversations, and he got the respect of Devontae Adams, and Devontae Adams said if Matthew Stafford retires after the season, so will I.
Yep.
Not when Aaron Rodgers is gone. I'm gone.
Yep.
Devontae Adams, you know what? The Jets are stupid. They had Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, that's news? That's news?
No,
No,
it's not news. They had Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, who I get when they got Devontae Adams last season, didn't immediately hit it off like they expected it they were supposed to. But towards the end of the season, you look at the numbers that Rodgers had and the numbers that Devontae Adams had, and they were pretty similar to what they were doing in Green Bay. And instead of them saying, if they had a good connection at the end of the season, let's run it back next year, they said, oh, Aaron Rodgers, we're going to fly you out real quick. You know what? You're cut. And then you know what they did to Devontae Adams? They said, goodbye.
Yep. And then the Rams got him. Yay. Okay. But yeah, no, so we've seen, like I said, go with all these crazy coaching moves. It's been nuts. Obviously, you saw Stefanski get fired. Jonathan Gannon got fired.
Well,
Harbaugh. To be honest with you, I'll go through what I kind of think on all of them. Raheem Morris getting fired, I could understand why. 16-8 2 seasons, missed the playoffs in both, went 8-9 in both. I think it's understandable, but again, to be honest, I would not even be surprised if he just needs to go back to being a defensive coordinator. I genuinely would call him to be a decent.
I wouldn't be surprised if he goes and becomes the defensive coordinator, because you look at the Falcons roster, right? And obviously, the only question mark on the offense, I would say, per whatever, could be Michael Penix. Like,
yep.
Is he suitable to continue and play and perform in the NFL? I don't know. I mean, you looked at what Kirk Cousins did when he came in, and Kirk Cousins didn't really play that bad.
No, he didn't play that bad.
You have all the talent. It's there. I believe, Pitts is a free agent. I believe and after this,
they may actually end up re-signing him because to close out the year this year, he actually had a really good season.
Oh, I know. I sat him when he dropped 45 points against the Bucs.
I picked him up off the waiver wire and sat him.
I started Tyler Warren over him, and then I also sat. That week just pissed me off. I had 3 or 4 players on my bench that had 20+ points, and I sat all of them.
Yeah. No,
I had A.D. Mitchell, I had Kyle Pitts, and then there was one more. It was did I sit? It was a running back. No, was it a running back? I think it was Chuba Hubbard, I think. He had 19 and Judkins only had like 4.
Yeah, I think that was the week that he popped off against the Rams maybe or something. But again, going back into it, Raheem Morris getting fired, kind of understandable.
The talent is there.
The talent's
You have Bijan, you have Drake London, you have Darnell Mooney, you have a pretty decent O-line.
Tyler Algier, they have a good defense. I can understand why. Stefanski getting fired by the Browns. I think that this one, again, makes sense.
I think this is what I'm going to say. Stefanski won Coach of the Year twice with the Browns.
Yeah.
And then I think he was set up to fail with the Browns once they traded for Deshaun Watson.
That's what I said.
Once they traded for Deshaun Watson, I think he was set up to fail because they traded for Deshaun Watson. They extended Deshaun Watson. He missed an entire season or no?
With injury
No, they traded for him after he didn't play for an entire season because he was suspended. Then he came back for 11 games to play against the Houston Texans, which I think that was scripted by the NFL. I think that they intentionally made his first game back against the Houston Texans just because. And then he proceeded to not only play like absolute garbage, he couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah.
And then it was the carousel of QBs, which you saw Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco took them on a playoff run, which was pretty.
Dorian Thompson. They had
Dorian Thompson and Robinson.
13 different quarterbacks.
Jameis Winston.
13 different quarterbacks during his tenure. 13. I agree with you.
Tyler Huntley.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that the Browns definitely did not give him the best opportunity. He kind of lacked a lot of success just because they did not have stability at that QB position. And when they did, when Mayfield had that 1 year, they made the playoffs. And then when Joe Flacco came in, who's a little bit more stable of a quarterback, and they figured it out, they made the playoffs. So
Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, like it's been bad. Pete Carroll, we already talked about. Hang it up, old man. It's over.
I think Pete Carroll had something nice at where was he? At North Carolina? Or he was at some college. He was coaching in college, and I think he should have stayed in college. I don't know where he was coaching.
I don't know where he went. I thought he was retired.
No.
He used to coach for the USC Trojans. Then he went to the Seahawks.
And then he went back to college, and I think his position opened, and I think Belichick took it.
Well, regardless,
I think
it's over. Hang it up, old man.
I think once Pete Carroll got released from the Seahawks, he should have been like, all right,
I need to step away from football.
I
agree. I think it's crazy. Then Jonathan Gannon, again, made sense. The guy was 15-36 in 3 seasons.
And Kyler Murray came out and said he loved playing for Jonathan Gannon. Yeah, when did Jonathan Gannon ever play you? Like, Kyler Murray was rarely...
I know. He was rarely on the field because he had a big injury history. But even when he was on the field, they couldn't find success either. John Harbaugh, I thought, again, was a mistake.
When I saw the notification that John Harbaugh got fired, I was shocked.
Yeah, so was I. I was like, what
I
the
was
hell?
like, wait, what is Adam Schefter saying?
I mean, they were talking about it. There was a lot of, like, ESPN, sports, all these crazy channels were all saying Harbaugh's on the hot seat. And I'm sitting there going, that's stupid.
That is, like, it's stupid, right? Well, think about it this way, right? Let's say Tyler Loop did make the field goal. You know who would have gotten fired?
Mike Tomlin, and that would have been even dumber.
Yep.
They still wouldn't have a losing season. They would have been 9-8.
I still think if they lose to the Texans on Monday, Mike Tomlin still gets fired.
That's ridiculous. And I'll say that right now.
I'm telling you right now. I won't be on the podcast next week, but I am saying right now that if the Steelers don't beat the Texans, there is a 90 or not even 90, an 80% chance Mike Tomlin still gets fired.
And guess what? If Mike Tomlin gets fired, shame on the Steelers organization.
And you know what? That's why I think John Harbaugh isn't interviewing with any teams until next week because he's waiting to see what happens with the Bills and he's waiting to see what happens with the Steelers.
I said that last night too.
The Steelers, the Bills, or the Eagles.
Yep. Well, the Eagles are not firing Sirianni. If anything, they may fire their offensive coordinator and Kevin Patullo, which should have been done a long time ago. And I would not be surprised if they call Mike McDaniel to be their offensive coordinator. But anyway, again, Mike McDaniel, right move. I think it was more attitude-based and just the way that he acted. Again, the first 2 years, Mike
were
McDaniel,
good.
They made the playoffs.
They made the playoffs, exactly.
And then the following 2 years were injury riddled. You had Tyreek out. I mean, it was a lot of question marks. I think it was very, very questionable as a whole to get rid of him. But again, now, like I mentioned, you have 8 vacancies. You got the Falcons, Browns, Raiders, Cardinals, Ravens, Dolphins, Titans, and Giants. 8 coaches so far that need to be filled.
Now,
would not be surprised if there's a couple more.
Now, I saw on Instagram that, I don't know, I think it was the Giants fan page, but whatever. Apparently, if this happens, I will throw a tantrum on this podcast.
Mike McCarthy?
Yep.
I know that. I got that notification on ESPN. They said that the Giants have already reached out and scheduled a meeting with Mike McCarthy to become their next head coach. Now, it doesn't mean that he's going to be. Because did you see the clip last night?
No.
Jackson Dart.
Well, yeah, yes. Well, I saw that. I didn't know if that's what you were referring to.
Yes, I will talk it.
Well, I'm a Giants. Let me do
Well,
it. Hold on.
You got a lot to say about the Giants anyway. Let me say something
yeah.
about the Giants. Because you didn't even know about, well, you knew where I was going with it. But anyway, my buddy said this to me too. He was at the Ole Miss game, and supposedly one of the Ole Miss staff members was talking to him on the sideline, and the question from lip reading, what professional lip readers were saying is, the guy asked him who is going to be the head coach of the New York Giants next year, and Jackson Dart clearly, you could see it in his lips, say Harbaugh or Stefanski, but I don't know. I would not be surprised if it's either of those guys. If it's Mike McCarthy, prayers to you. And prayers to all my Giants fans.
Now, I also saw they requested to interview the Broncos assistant head coach.
Really?
And then they requested to the guy from the Seahawks, whatever, I don't know what his name is. Whatever. Hold on.
Yeah, you could look that up.
I'll look that up. But they also, I think they also requested to, I think they are going to request to interview, you're not going to like this, Shula from the Rams.
I wouldn't be surprised. You know what? If they interview Shula, if I'm the Rams, I'm calling Raheem Morris and say, hey, you want to come back and be the defensive coordinator again? We won a Super Bowl with you.
Yeah, but if they win a Super Bowl with Shula, do you think they'll let Shula walk?
If they win a Super Bowl with Shula, it's not that they let him walk. Shula's going to get poached. Somebody's going to call him and be like, yo, come be the head coach.
Do you think he can be a suitable head coach?
The only way you know is if you take a shot.
I know they also, I'm pretty sure they're going to request to interview Brian Flores from the Vikings, which I think they should have hired him over Daboll when they had the chance to do that 4 years ago or 5 years ago, however many years ago it was. They should have done it.
Well, even Flores was not as good of a head coach. He was a fantastic defensive coordinator. Insane. I don't know how it's going to pan.
I know they're going to probably request. I saw they were going to request a Packers defensive coordinator because the Packers defense is amazing. Now, if I am a Giants fan, right? And my ideal.
No, I would have never thought.
Well, hold on. My ideal head coaching staff, right? Because I know they already interviewed Stefanski. I know yesterday and today they are interviewing Antonio Pierce to be their head coach. Now, this is what I want. I want the head coach to either be John Harbaugh or Kevin Stefanski. And I believe whichever one isn't, if it does come down to one of those two, whichever one does get hired by the Giants, they're going with the Dolphins. That's a done deal with no ifs, ands, or buts.
Okay.
I want the offensive coordinator to be Cliff Kingsbury or Mike McCarthy. No, not Mike McCarthy. Mike McDaniels. And I want the defensive coordinator to be Antonio Pierce.
I wouldn't be mad at that. I think a lot of Giants fans would probably agree with that.
That would be a phenomenal coaching staff.
It probably would be. I doubt that you're going to get exactly that, but if they pull that off.
If that happens, then I am
locked in.
Exactly.
Locked in.
But because I've been talking to a bunch of people, and they've all been saying, who wouldn't, I guess Harbaugh, the decision is, it's going to come between the Dolphins and the Giants, right? If you're Harbaugh, where would you want to go? Would you rather go to a team in Miami where, yes, the weather's warmer, it's nicer, but you don't really have a great quarterback?
No.
You have a receiver in Tyreek Hill who's most likely going to be cut, traded, whatever, or might even retire. You have Jalen Waddle, who's pretty decent, but he's not a sustainable wide receiver one.
Yeah.
And your defense is god-awful.
Yeah, it's bad.
And your running back is your only bright spot on the team.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a few years to rebuild and get to where you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no guarantee after the first two seasons with Harbaugh and the Dolphins that they're like, yeah, no better than Mike McDaniel, get out of here, right? Or would you rather go to the Giants where you obviously, which it looks like you have your franchise quarterback of the future. You have two solid running backs in Scatterbo and Tracy. You have a wide receiver in Malik Neighbors. And if they can bring him back, Wan'Dale Robinson, who has been amazing this year. You have two plausible tight ends in Theo Johnson and Daniel Bellinger. And then if you look at the defense, you have a great offensive tackle in Andrew Thomas. And their offensive line was way better this year than it was.
Yeah.
And then you go to the defensive side, and you're like, well, there can't really be much. You look at the defense. Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, which I'm surprised only had half a sack for the entire season.
Yeah. Abdul Carter and Kayvon.
Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, Okereke, Cordero Flott, Paulson Adebo. They got to bring back Micah McFadden. They
probably will draft some other guys too, like
Caleb Downs.
Well, maybe I think
Javon
he's a wide
Holland.
receiver, but I don't know. Or they'll sign
some
free agents.
At 5, I could see them taking Jordan Tyson.
Maybe.
Or I don't think that'd be too early to take Carnell Tate. But
maybe. But again, I get what you're saying.
The Giants, at the head coaching position for the Giants, whether it be Stefanski or Harbaugh, they both won offense. They both won Coach of the Year. The Giants are built to succeed within the next 2 seasons.
Yeah, no, I agree with
and
that.
I've been hearing that Harbaugh may want you to fire your GM, but I think if the Giants say, hey, we're going to give you the money you want, but we're going to keep Joe Shane as the GM, but after 1 season, if you're like, hey, I don't like how he's doing the team and you want him to go, we can get rid of him.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the
now.
move. Again, like I said, it's very possible. I think it would be beneficial for them to go out and get a guy like that. I would not be surprised to see them try and boost their staff at all, because they basically went through a full clean house except for Shane. So it definitely makes sense, for sure. I think it's the right move, and I wouldn't be surprised if it definitely makes them better, even better than a lot of people expect in a shorter period.
But
of time.
if their head coach is Mike McCarthy,
oh no, don't even put yourself in that spot. If it's Mike McCarthy, forget it.
Exactly.
Forget it. Okay.
I would even take Mike McCarthy as the defensive coordinator.
Anything but the head coach. That's what I'll finish with. Now, to close it out, I was going to have us go through our whole bracket. I think it's probably better if we just go through the matchups for this week and who we think is going to win in all of the playoff games, just because it's not too crazy. It's hard to go through and see because, it's better to make the picks off the week. So
well, I guess we could.
We technically could, but it's going to take a little too long.
No, I'm pretty sure we can get through it in 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah, but I also do want to back up why we make the picks as well. We're just going to try and be quick here. We'll go through each matchup and then just give a short description as to why you think this team's going to win. We'll try and keep it very quick.
All right.
So we'll start with the AFC side. Obviously, this week, or no, actually, you know what? We could probably go in order. No, you know what? No, we'll just go with the AFC side, then the NFC side. So the AFC side, the first game that we have on the list is going to be the Houston Texans at the Pittsburgh Steelers. In my opinion, I personally believe that the Texans' defense is going to be too much for Pittsburgh's offense. Obviously, the Texans are on, I believe, a 9-game winning streak right now. They're hot. Defense is a top unit. Steelers, are going to need to put up at least 20 points in this game. I don't know if they will. I'm going to take the Houston Texans on the road as the underdog.
So you make a very valid point. It's very obvious that right now the Texans are riding the hot hand. And all I'm going to say is I do think the Texans are going to win. But I think Aaron Rodgers said before the season that this is it. I think he's retiring after this season. So as a fan of the NFL and as a kid who grew up watching him play football, I'm not going to lie, I would love to see him make a run in the playoffs.
I get it, but
like one more postseason of Rodgers magic,
Okay. No, listen, I'm not going to dispute that.
And I'm going to say right now that they are getting back DK Metcalf. And I'm not going to say it's going to make a big difference.
Derek Stingley Jr.
But yeah, Derek Stingley Jr. is going to be on him the entire time. But if Rodgers is wise, Stingley is one of the top 5 cornerbacks in the league.
5? He went top 2. Him and Pat Surtain are 2 of the best corners in football. Period. Top 2.
Yeah.
Top 2.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, yeah, no, I probably should say top 2.
top 5. You're right, he is top 5. He's just not 5, 4, or 3. He's either 2 or 1. So, yes. But I get it. It would be cool to see the Steelers win. It would.
But if Rodgers finally just is like, you know what? DK is bigger and taller and just can go up, and DK can just moss the absolute crap out of him, then, there might be a chance. But I don't see that happening.
I don't see that happening.
I would love to see the Steelers win, but
it's not going to happen. I'm taking the Texans. Then you have the Bills and the Jaguars. Obviously, there are so many people that are riding this hot hand of the Jaguars right now, and I will tell you this. I ain't buying it. I'm taking the Buffalo Bills. I'm taking the quarterback with more playoff experience. I'm taking a guy that the only quarterback that he's ever really got knocked out of the playoffs by is not in the playoffs in Patrick Mahomes. At some point, the history of their road playoff success has to change. They're currently 0-4 on the road. That is going to change this weekend. I'm taking Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills to upset the Jacksonville Jaguars in Duval.
Now,
what about you?
I'm going to say this. Going into the playoffs, right? Once we learned that Mahomes wasn't going to be in the playoffs, the Chiefs were out. Even if the Chiefs did make the playoffs, he still wouldn't be playing because of his ACL injury. But I immediately thought the favorites to win the AFC division was the Bills, because when you statistically look at the past 5 or so playoffs years or whatever, Josh Allen and the Bills come to play in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the only team that they've had trouble beating
is Kansas
City. And they've changed the rules 3 times. And it doesn't, I'm not saying that them losing to Kansas City is the reason why the rules changed, because they just had to change. I think it was time for each team to get a possession in overtime.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. I'm not using that as an excuse, but they just couldn't figure out a way to beat Kansas City. And I think if Josh Allen wants to get a ring in his career, this is his best shot.
I 100%, and that's why I'm taking Buffalo. I like Jacksonville. I think they have a lot of talent. I like the new head coach a lot in Liam Cohen. I think that the culture is different. I just think that Buffalo's got the edge in experience. And the big thing that always costs Buffalo is their run defense. This offense is not been as strong running the ball as some of the other teams that they faced this season. I think that it's going to be more of a passing attack from Jacksonville, and that's what Buffalo's stronger with. So I'm going with Buffalo. And I'm assuming you're probably going Buffalo as well?
Yeah, I am going Buffalo too.
Okay. And then
I'm jumping through a table.
Yeah. Then, Bills Mafia. Then the final game in the AFC is going to be the Chargers at the Patriots. This one I think is going to be a lot closer than people will give it credit for. I think that the Patriots still do win with the home field advantage. I think Drake May's been the better quarterback this year. I think that the offensive line injuries to the Chargers are going to constitute a little bit of a problem. Herbert may not be able to do as much damage as he would like to. I think it's still going to be a close game because the Chargers' defense is pretty good, but I'm going to give the edge to the Patriots at home.
Now, I'm going to say what I said at the beginning of the season for the Bears. It takes one full season to institute a new offensive scheme, defensive scheme, and whatnot when a new head coach is hired. And you saw that last year when Jim Harbaugh went from Michigan to the Chargers, right? The Chargers made the playoffs last year, but they got bounced in the wild card round, I believe, by the Bills. Or the Broncos. I don't know if it was the Broncos, but they got bounced in the wild card round. And they come out this season undefeated, and the first loss is to the Giants. But what I'm going to say is that I do think that, yes, it will be a close game. If the Patriots do win, it's not going to be an easy game to win.
Agreed.
But I am going to take the Los Angeles Chargers to beat the Patriots.
All right. Wow.
I think the Chargers absolutely, there's a chance that they can blow out the Patriots only because, right?
Blow out.
this is Drake May's first playoff game.
You're right.
And usually speaking, when a quarterback, like a sophomore quarterback, a rookie quarterback, whatever, goes into their first playoff game, they're not used to the atmosphere. I get it's at Gillette, but still, it's a different atmosphere. There's a lot more on the line than just a regular season game.
You're right. Well,
The Chargers' defense.
it's funny because I'll bring that up later.
The Chargers' defense is pretty good. Like, I believe if Khalil Mack plays, their defensive line is pretty good. I get their offensive line has struggles, but Justin Herbert has proven this year that he is the guy that they picked in the first round. And, I do believe, like, he does have the weapons in Keenan Allen if he plays.
Yeah, okay.
And Ladd McConkey and whatnot.
No, you're not wrong. I could see, like I said, that's why I think it's going to be a lot closer of a game. I don't know if the Patriots will lose, but who knows? Then the final 3 games we'll go over real quick. This one is fairly easy. Is the Rams versus the Panthers. I mean, I would obviously as a Rams fan, I'm not going to not take the Rams. But even as someone, if I wasn't biased and I wasn't a Rams fan, I'm still taking the Rams in this game.
I am taking the Rams in this game. I am, but I got my haircut before the podcast, right? And I don't know if it's just superstitions or stuff. We were just talking, and it was just like talking sports at the barbershop. Mm-hmm. And somebody said that the Panthers always tend to win every other game. Now, I'm not saying that this is your sign to go throw $1,000 on the Panthers, but they did just lose to the Buccaneers last week. So if it is a superstition with the Panthers that they win every other game, then I wouldn't be surprised if the superstition rides on. But I do think that the Rams just score and then just keep pouring it on.
Yeah, I think if
the Rams somehow lose this game on, is it Sunday or Saturday?
Saturday.
On Saturday, I don't have any word. I won't have any
words. Then
not
only will Julian not be here on the next podcast, I may not be here on the next podcast. So we'll do it like that. No, but again, I think that even as a Rams fan, I'm trying not to be biased in saying it. The offense now adds Devontae Adams back. They're also adding Quentin Lake back on their defense, who's one of their stronger parts of their secondary. He's big in the run game. He's one of their captains. Obviously, the Panthers were down a lot of guys the last time that they played him as well. So I give the Panthers a lot of credit, but I just think the Rams offense is going to be too much.
Now,
if they can click,
I could say the same thing that I'm saying for Drake May for Bryce Young, because this is his first playoff game, number one.
And it's not Stafford's first.
It's not Stafford's first, no. And when you look at the Rams record and you look at the Buccaneers record, and you're like, well, obviously, no, not Buccaneers, the Panthers. You're like, okay, record-wise, games should be being played at SoFi Stadium, but it's not.
And it's not. But you know what? I don't care.
It's not a big deal, but all I'm going to say is that at the beginning of the season, even midway, week 8 or 9, mm-hmm. if you sat here and told me and Zach that the Panthers would make the playoffs over the Buccaneers and win the division, we would laugh in your face.
Well, I wouldn't say laugh. I did say before the season started, I thought that the Panthers had a much better shot than people expected.
Well, you did say that, but I would sit here and I would be like, you're crazy, because at midseason they weren't anywhere. At midseason, I would have laughed right in your face. And I would have said, yeah.
You're right. Then the second matchup we'll go into is going to be the Eagles-Niners. I'm going to take the Eagles. Playing at Lincoln
Financial Field.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to call it the Link. But playing at home in front of their fans, 49ers defense has been struggling big time. Philadelphia's defense has been very, very good. I think Philly's defense has a better shot at stopping San Fran's offense than San Fran's defense has at stopping Philly's offense. I just think that Philly's got the advantage at home. I think the 49ers run comes to an end very early. I'm going to take the Eagles to win at home that game.
Now,
plus defending Super Bowl champs too, so that place is going to be nuts.
They are defending Super Bowl champs going into the playoffs. Yes, you could say they kind of had a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover because they didn't clinch the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold and the Seahawks clinched the 1 seed. Then again, if you told me 3 years ago or 4 years ago that Sam Darnold would clinch the 1 seed with the Seahawks, I would start laughing my ass off.
Yeah.
I would be like, there's no way.
That's what I.
So, all I'm going to say is I do think the Eagles will probably win the game, but as a Giants fan, I am rooting for the 49ers because I want to see the Eagles lose. I hope they lose, and I just don't care if they win. But all I'm going to say is that we finally get the matchup we've been waiting for in the playoffs. We get Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, no,
I mean, it's a long time coming because obviously the Giants and Panthers never played each other in the playoffs because they were both on the teams, the Giants and the Panthers, when they were both ass. But I'm curious to see how both of them play because McCaffrey had a great regular season and Saquon really didn't. But it's the playoffs. Saquon's going to come out and he's going to want to he's going to be more hungry. Also, it all depends on what I've been saying all season long about the Eagles. If their offense is not on the same page, then the Eagles are going to come out and their offense is going to struggle.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. And then we'll close out. So you said you were taking
I'm taking the 49ers.
Okay. And then in the final game of the week, it is the Green Bay Packers and the Bears. Obviously, it's not in order last game of the week, but the other game is the Packers.
First game of the week.
No, it's the second. The Rams is the first game. And then they play on Prime on Saturday night. I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers. I think similar. I know it's going to sound contradictory because I didn't do the same thing for Drake May and say, oh, well, he's a rookie in the playoffs. It's his first time. Same thing with Caleb Williams. I do think that it is a little bit more of a problem for Caleb Williams. The Packers are a more seasoned team when it comes to the playoffs. Jordan Love usually plays fairly well in the first few rounds. I think that their defense is still good enough. Obviously, it's a big rivalry game, so it's going to mean a lot.
It's a rubber match.
It is, but because it's the third match of the series. They're split 1-1 right now. I'm going to give the edge right now to the Packers because I like their coach a little bit better. I think Ben Johnson's done a phenomenal job with the Bears, but I like LaFleur as a better coach. I think that the Packers have the better run game with Josh Jacobs. I think that they have the more experienced quarterback with Jordan Love. I just think that the Packers overall have a better shot at winning this game. I think it's that experience that's going to get them through. So I'm going to take Green Bay to win on the road against Chicago.
Now, what I'm going to say is the only thing, I guess I could see Green Bay winning. It's going to be, because whenever you see the Packers and Bears play each other, it's always going to be a good game to watch. Like, you're never going to sit down and watch a Packers-Bears game and it's going to be like, why am I watching this? Like, I'm wasting my time. Because it's Packers-Bears rivalry, Aaron Rodgers, I still own you, all that.
Yeah.
And the only way I could see the Bears winning this is because the Packers are without Micah Parsons, and I do think that him being on the field against the Bears' offensive line, which isn't really the best, had a big impact on the amount of pressure that was getting to Caleb Williams. If you think about it, right? Micah Parsons was drawing so much attention from the O-lineman that he was getting double-teamed, triple-teamed, which was allowing the other edge rushers to get through. Luke Van Ness, like Greg Van Roten. They were able to get through because of there being more gaps. Now that Micah Parsons isn't there and they only have to worry about Rashawn Gary, it's not going to be as easy to get through the offensive line.
I can see it.
And I do think that even though Xavier McKinney is a really great safety, which the Giants never should have let walk. Don't even get me started on that. That was the worst day to be a Giants fan. You lost Xavier McKinney and Saquon within the span of an hour.
Yeah, no.
And, you have three really great receivers in Odunze, DJ Moore, and Luther Burden. The Packers, you have Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, and you haven't, I don't know, is Matthew Golden still hurt?
He played in the last game.
You haven't used them, which, with the way Caleb Williams has been playing throughout the final backstretch of the season, if he keeps playing the way that he is, then, I could see the Bears winning, but...
So who are you taking?
It's 50-50 for me right now.
Here's one thing that I will use for you to clear it up for you. The Bears were an onside kick failure away from losing that last game. The Packers were winning that game, and they blew it. All they needed to do was recover an onside kick, and they would have beaten the Packers.
I know.
Or beaten the Bears again.
I know.
I'm telling you right now, I genuinely think it's the Packers' time to win. That experience is going to get there. You can make your call however you want. I'm just saying.
Well, then again, right, I'm going to bring this up. Jordan Love does have playoff experience, right? But they should have beat the 49ers in the playoffs, but they didn't.
Yeah, you're right.
I think they had a lead and they blew it in that game too.
They did.
So I wouldn't be surprised. I'm gonna go with the Packers, but I'm not gonna be surprised if they somehow figure out a way to mess up because when Jordan Love has a lot of pressure and the light is shined bright on him, I tend to think he does make more mistakes than Aaron Rodgers.
I've said that before too, so I agree with you there.
I am picking the Packers only because I have friends that are Packers fans, but if the Bears win, I'm not going to be surprised.
I would not be surprised either. But that's a good way to kick off the first week. So, Happy New Year again to everybody.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning into episode 27 of the Straight Outta Stratford podcast. I am Zach.
I am Julian.
And I will see you guys next week.
And I will see you in 2 weeks.